Hey everyone, it's RuPaul's Drag Race, season 13, episode 5, The Bag Ball. And I think this is going to be an episode that a lot of people have very strong opinions on. I have opinions. I wouldn't say that they're super strong opinions, but I have them. And so it's fine if you feel really differently. It's fine if you feel really strongly, really differently. So go ahead and hit up in the comments. This is just my interpretation of what I saw after one watching. So, the episode starts with, right off the bat, the second they walk off the stage from the previous challenge, Candy's still going about how Elliott should have been in the bottom instead. Okay, from a viewer, this is not a great look. Elliott's sort of our underdog and has kind of been hounded since the very beginning. Do I think there's some, sometimes they show stuff and she sometimes does sound a little annoying, but this hounding is like, I'll tell you from a psychological standpoint, it's really hard to watch. It's like, okay, just back off. I don't get why all of the other gals are just fine to sit back. I don't think it's the healthiest. As someone called this the RuPaul Stanford experiment, which is a pretty well-known experiment. But basically it summarizes like kind of the worst aspects of when you break people into two different groups, and you get bullies, and then you get out of control bullies that you would not, people behave in a way that you would hope that none of us would behave. Anyway, and then Candy talks about how Simone is her biggest competition. Now there's been a lot of discussion about this. This was part of the preview that came out like Wednesday. And so I've had a lot of time to think about it. And people are like, they say this every single season they talk about who's the biggest competition. And I think part of it is that Candy said it was her biggest competition, which implies that Simone's right here and Candy's right here and everyone else is beneath Candy and is not competition for Candy. And I think that is, and that's really important. Words like the biggest threat in the competition versus my biggest threat, those words are important. That's how the language works. And some people can't hear it and some people can, and we all have strengths and we all have different abilities, and this is just, so anyway, you're welcome to argue. Yes, I will say that the topic of who is the biggest competition comes up in every single time, but I feel like Candy saying my biggest competition shifts the conversation a little bit, and Tamisha's not going to have any of it. She stays very calm, but she's like, you're not the judge, which is, I think, a fair critique, because Candy has decided that she's in charge of saying who should be where, and is very loud about it and very aggressive about it, which we'll come back to. And then Candy's saying, you're not on my level. And I feel like the accusations that Tamisha made are relatively. Now, if Candy had said she's the biggest competition and Tamisha had gotten really, really heated, I would have been like, okay. But she does have the track record is showing that she's a strong competitor, and you can't ignore that. But that's not what happened. So the idea of having a discussion about who's leading the competition, I think, is legitimate, but I think the way it was said, but I'm not gonna, that's all I'm gonna say about it. I am not gonna message Candy to tell her that I hate her or anything like that. So anyway, so we go into it, they do this baby challenge, and it was a little confusing to me. I wish I had, so before the queens come, they give them some criteria so that they have outfits that fit the different challenges. And so I would be curious to know what the criteria was, because 8 of the 12 did babies, they very clearly look like babies. But Tina Burner, I don't know when I looked at her outfit, I was like, this is not a baby outfit. I was like, what is going on? Candy Muse, kind of, I was like, okay, kind of looks like a little kid, but not really. Simone as well, and Tamisha a little bit, but Tamisha did have the big bonnet. 3 of them had the same big bonnet, so somewhere someone is selling adult bonnets, because they all had 3 or 4 of them had that same big bonnet, but it was a little confusing to me, and they didn't really, and I think the prompt must have been a little confusing, because I saw that Kimora also had sort of like a little kid outfit, not a baby outfit, so I think it might have been a little bit confusing, but they didn't really address it, they didn't really say, Tina Burner, what are you wearing? So anyway, Lala Ree won that. They did it very quickly. I have no opinions on this mini challenge, because you see like 5 seconds of people, and it could be one person's best 5 seconds, another person's worst. I don't know. So there was the mini challenge. It was kind of horrifying. Anyway, and they cut to the bag challenge. So there's The first one is a punny bag. So they had to have some sort of something with a bag in it, which I thought was a great runway. There was the money bag, and then there was the from scratch high fashion bag. So that is 36 looks, and I think from a judging standpoint, I found it a little difficult. Are they all weighted equally? If they spend the whole day making, shouldn't that be a bigger part of their grade? So it was a little, I won't say confusing, but it was, I think a lot of the people who had really strong opinions one way or the other were looking at this differently. Like a lot of people, and myself included, was that third look, the first two are sort of even, and then that third look weighs for more. That's what a lot of people kind of, when I did read Twitter last night when I was doing it. It was rough. But were that they were taking that third look much more seriously. And I have to say that I do as well. We saw Utica helping Lala, which didn't do much good. We saw, we did hear finally, someone asked me last week, have they discussed that Tamisha and Lala are drag mother and daughter? And it kind of came up and we got a little better explanation, which is Tamisha was the first person to put Lala Ree into drag, and they might have had some sort of relationship for a while, and then it sounds like Lala Reed sort of didn't take it seriously until much later, and then when she did take it seriously, Tamisha wasn't part of the story. So they both seem fine with it. It doesn't seem like there's any super hard feelings about it, but it doesn't also seem like they're necessarily very close. I like that Tamisha was like, oh, I'll show you what a bag is, and they kind of had an impromptu little thing. That was really fun. That's the kind of stuff I enjoy. Those are the moments I enjoy. I am not someone who's like, oh, if there's no drama, I find this season so boring. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a high conflict person. I won't say it bothers me because I wouldn't watch a reality show if it really bothered me, but it's not something I delight in. So I would say RuPaul seems to be in a great mood this season. I'm not sure whether maybe RuPaul's so delighted to be back in the workroom after this long break. I don't know whether she finds this cast particularly delightful. I wouldn't be surprised at that. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of really fun personalities in there. But RuPaul to me just seems in a great mood. We saw that last week, just laughing and rolling on the floor. Same with this week. They had a long extended discussion about Black Lives Matter, a lot of vulnerability. If it's something, hopefully, that you've been kind of paying attention to, there's not a lot to say about it, but it was a really great thing to see them discuss it and talk about personally, talking about things like the genuine fear that they have, that they will be hurt by the police. And I feel that obviously fear and scare and hurt is a big part of this movement, but it was really touching, I think is the word I'll use, to see Lala Ree talk about it. So saw a lot of Lala Ree this episode. Okay, so we go in, they have their 36 looks. I'm not going to go into them in depth. I'm going to talk a little bit here in a minute, but there's just so many looks. Go watch one of the videos that talks about each look in depth. I thought the punny, I think my favorite was, I felt that the money bag, they all kind of looked the same to me. And there were better versions of the punny bag, which is where they all did puns, I thought was so fun. That was really excited to me to see. And then I thought, I always love the sort of Project Runway unconventional challenge style. It's like all my favorite things from Project Runway plus drag. So that was my favorite runway. And I feel that those were the ones that were weighing the heaviest, because I feel like the money bags one, everyone did kind of the same version of like the business lady. And there were some better ones, and I loved, like, I loved Big Business. If you haven't seen it, it's a classic Lily Tomlin, Bette Midler. It's just, let me do a detour here. Such a fun movie. It's the kind of 80s movie that I wish we still made, which is like, it's not dark and gritty, it's just fun. There's no, so the thing is that these rich parents went to this podunk town and gave birth to twins at the same time that this podunk town family gave birth to twins, and they switched one of them. So they have Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler, set of twins in each place, and they play, so there's 4 roles and they each play 2 of them. And the Big Business twins are going to do something, I can't remember what it was, to this small town. And so they meet up and they discover, oh my gosh, they were switched at birth and all that. It's very fun. I recognized right away. Anyway, go watch it. It's fun. It's funky. Now, if there's anything super questionable in it, I don't remember because I haven't seen it in 30 years. I don't know. Anyway, so anyway, our safe are Denali, Elliot, Simone, Olivia, Tina, and Candy. I put a question mark next to Candy because I thought Candy was going to be in the bottom. I will discuss that outfit, which is she had like a backpack look, and the bra was really well done. I was super impressed. And then the bottom was just backpack sewn in a circle, and I was like, that alone to me should have been in the bottom. I felt over Tamisha. That's just my opinion. I don't disagree with the critiques that they gave to Tamisha, but that was my feeling. I also probably would have put Olivia in the top over. I don't know who I would have been over. It would have been not Utica. I almost want to say Gottmik, and I don't dislike Gottmik's outfits at all, but I wasn't as wowed by them as the critique was, as the judging panel was. Doesn't mean it was bad. Still would have put her in the top half. I just didn't think they were as outstanding. This is where I think a lot of people are going to have really strong opinions about this episode. But I wasn't upset. Olivia was a little bit, so I'm going to kind of mix in the Untucked stuff with here. There's a quote that says that those are a lot of feelings for safe. That's a lot of feelings for safe. And that's how I kind of felt about Olivia. Olivia was kind of going off and off and off about how she should have been in the top. And I don't necessarily disagree. I thought it was a good look. But I will just say it's a lot of emotions for safe. And we've heard it multiple times from multiple people over multiple seasons. And it happens all the time. So I get it. But then Candy was like, I should be in the top. They should be telling me how much better I'm doing. And that I was a little bit like, I would have put you in the bottom. Maybe in the middle because the top was good, but not in the top. I wouldn't have put you in the top. There's no way I would have put you above Olivia, Gottmik, Rosé, or Utica. So I guess right in the middle. Simone was kind of lucky to skate through. I like Joey J's piece. Maybe it looked worse on the runway, but anyway. So Joey J, Lala Ree, and Tamisha was in the bottom. Lala Ree's outfit was, when they said it was the worst we've ever seen, it was the worst they'd ever seen. I mean, it wasn't even, it was like, if you were to do a parody, and I'm sorry, I like Lala Ree, there's lots of positive in this episode, but if you were to do a parody of a bad outfit for that challenge, it would have been better than that. And I'm just really sorry. The pieces were falling off. It didn't even cover the whole dress. It wasn't even like a bodysuit covered in bags. It was a bodysuit half covered in bags that were already falling off, and it just didn't make sense to me. My opinion is that it was so bad they just couldn't have kept her. I know a lot of people thought the lip sync was super solid. Her performance in the lip sync was solid, but I personally felt the outfit was so bad she should have gone home. I'm sorry. It's just, and this is where you get into the part of competition reality where we put values on different things, and that's just how I felt. I also, although the lip sync was funny, I didn't like, at the end she was half naked. She looked like a man with face. The thing was, I'm not a fan of that. The same way it took off the headpiece. For me, it's kind of like, it reminded me of, was it season 2 Shangela? Where the hair comes off, the outfit's around the waist. I just kind of felt like the standards were a little different in the past. They let the only reason that Shangela got to stay for that was because the oh gosh, I can't remember her name. I can picture that Christmas runway did even worse. But that is just my opinion. That is not because I detest Lala Ree. It is just how I feel about the judging criteria, which is that outfit was the worst we had ever seen. And I just kind of felt like there was nothing you could do in the lip sync to make up for it. And then combined with the fact that she took off her hair, I looked down, took some notes, looked back up, and was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So anyway, Joey J goes home. I'm not really upset about Joey J going home because so far in the competition, Joey hasn't shown enough for me to say this is a superior queen. I'm sorry, still excellent queen, but in the track record so far, there's a lot of work to be done. I felt like The wig, even for a drag wig, looked something up in here. Someone who has more knowledge than me can tell me why it was distracting to me. I don't mind. I actually prefer the boy hair, which they call boy hair, but it's not a very, to me, it's a feminine cut. But anyway. And then, okay, so that's the downside. Like I said, you're free in the comments to tell me I'm just so wrong, respectfully. But that's just how I feel. And then in the top are Got Milk, Rosé, and Utica. Rosé, at first when I saw her in the room and she was putting the things about it, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. But when I saw it in action, I was like, okay, this is what other people try to do. Like, this is what Candy Muse was trying to do when she put the backpacks around her. Like, there's actually quite a bit of sewing because it made it so it sat flat and all that. And the bustier looked like a bustier meant to look like the bags, as opposed to a bag that you kind of look like and go, oh, I guess that's a bustier. It just looked different. It fit. They went gaga for got mix outfits. I thought they were good. I would have given it to Utica. I thought that sleeping bag outfit would have easily stood up to a normal runway look. I noticed just the waistline, it was a sleeping bag, and yet it still had this structure through the middle that looked incredibly attractive. I thought the whole thing was really like haute couture. Let's see it go down a runway. They kind of were like, oh, well, she was really beautiful, but she was funny. And I was like, her inspiration is Carol Burnett. And then, of course, part of me as a female kind of comedy person is like, you know, this is the standard that they give to funny women, which is that you can either be funny or you can be beautiful. And you can't say that, wow, she's stunning and funny. Like when she did the poodle look, that is, so to me, I felt like it's a little bit of a double standard to say, or unfair standard, maybe not a double standard, but an unfair standard to say that females who are funny aren't as attractive, and they didn't think, but I'm not getting too deep in that. But anyway, for me, Utica would have been the winner. I'm so impressed, and we've seen this over the past couple seasons. We've seen these funny queens that are incredibly beautiful, and it's like, oh my gosh, the standard person can't hold up to being both of those things. But anyway, Utica for me would be the winner. I'm not upset with Gottmik. I've said before, you know how I feel about when they have completely flat boy chest, but I guess, like, someone messaged me, a friend who watches the show, and was like, that's just the, they said it nicely, but they basically was like, that's just the trend. And the fact that I like somewhat padding to look like bosom and hips or something, it's just, I'm just out of style. And that's fine. So anyway, I'm not mad with Gottmik winning. I didn't think Tina, I kind of thought maybe Tina would be, Tina Burner would be on the bottom. So then we get into Untucked. I've kind of already got into this. But they, as soon as Olivia said, oh, well, let's give each other critiques, I was like, oh, I don't want to hear this. And immediately Candy's like, Elliot, you're annoying. You don't have, if Elliot is annoying, we're not seeing it on the show. Occasionally she says stuff, but Candy's the one who's always talking and criticizing her, and it's that same thing that happened last year with Aiden, which is when you see someone just go on and on and on and on one person, and it seems like they have a detachment from reality, like, Elliot, you definitely should have been in the bottom. Elliot, you, and it's like, no one else is seeing that, no one else is seeing, and then I kind of look at the other queens, and I'm like, why are you guys like allowing this and encouraging this? And if I had a friend who was just constantly picking on someone, I don't think I'd be friends with them. That bothers me. I wouldn't, or at the very least, I'd be like, okay, you need to relax. You know, this is not a good look. How about that? It's not a good look. And then that whole faux, oh, I'm saying this as a sister. No one believes you're saying this as a sister. You know, you're not very self-aware. And then, of course, the irony of Tamisha coming in, and what, was Tamisha rude? She even said, yeah, I was. So I'm not going to disagree that Tamisha was rude, coming in and saying, you know, I don't like some of you, but you did really good. This is good drag. But then of course Candy freaking out and saying, you know, if I'm being aggressive, you should tell me. And she's like, I did. Well, you should say it to my face. I did. So that was not, I didn't delight in it. I saw a lot of people just delighting. Oh, this is what I watched the show for. This is why you cast people like this. I don't delight in it, but I don't deny that other people love it. To me, I kind of watched kind of like behind my paper. It made me really uncomfortable. Watching Kandi go after Elliot made me really uncomfortable after a while, because it was like, this top of the show was about her going after Elliot. We didn't see Elliot the whole episode other than kind of minding her own business. And then at the end go off on it. It just kind of seemed... Now, maybe there's a lot going on. It is a reality show, but there's a lot going on. But then Tamisha's saying something and Kandi going over the top and yelling at all her friends and screaming at everyone, just, for me, wasn't delightful. And then I feel bad for Kandi because there's nothing she can do now. There's nothing that she can do now to change it. It happened months ago. And it's not a good look, and it's not winning her fans. And I'm sure that she had this dream that she would be this beloved character. She'd be like a Vanjie. And I know that they all do that. They all want to go on there, be loud and outgoing. And, you know, she made a comment about being so insecure and being better. She's not going to let anyone. And it's a hard, I mean, it's, we've all been there, which is that I don't know. I'm trying to be extra nice because I just feel bad, because right now I think people really, really dislike her. And I can't disagree that the person that we're seeing on TV is not crazy enjoyable. It was kind of delightful to see Tamisha kind of take her down a notch or two. That it was incredibly ironic that she's sitting here telling Elliot how she's so unself-aware, and then absolutely is dishing it out like, and then goes, I think what really set me off was at the end, she went back to Elliot. She's like, I wasn't doing that to be aggressive. I was just doing your sister. And it's like, no, you weren't. You were upset that you weren't in the top, and you wanted to take it out on, you wanted to take that emotion out on someone. And so you took it out on the same person they've kind of been doing that to since the second episode. And maybe she's a little annoying. We certainly don't get to see enough of Elliot to know one way or the other, but so anyway, that was Untucked. It was not I will not be watching it again. I know a lot of other people delight in it, and I'm not saying you're a bad person if you do. If you loved it, then you loved it. I mean, it's a reality show. Clearly they do Untucked for a reason. It's just not my favorite thing. So, yeah, I mean, so there you go. So, I think unfortunately, I think Utica for me is coming up. Delightful to watch. I like the queens that just mind their own business. Wasn't crazy about Tina Burner and Gottmik going and chasing after Kandi and then acting like I don't know. It's just, it bothers me that like Kandi can go after people and everyone's like, oh, that's right, yeah, woohoo. And then Tamisha does the exact same thing and Kandi implodes and everyone's like, oh, she's so mean. And it's like, well, I don't know, they both have the same kind of energy in that moment. I don't get why, you know. So anyway, it was uncomfortable for me. Anyway, I'm so, if you're with me at this point, thank you. So tell me who's going to lead for you, who is not. If you want to comment on the drama, try to just kind of be respectful. It was uncomfortable for me to watch, and it's uncomfortable for me knowing that this is someone's big break, and that's kind of how they end up being portrayed. And I say that, but it is also, they can't edit together information that's not there. I mean, that was like one cut all the way through, so we saw what was happening. And so I can't really say like, oh, that's so unfair, they spliced together stuff. It sure looks like that's exactly what happened. Anyway, yeah. Bye.